Roy, first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about the history and development of unions in the UK?
Yeah, well, essentially, when the country was a farming and rural community, that changed significantly as industrialisation took place, and that formed large groups of workers where trade unions were formed to protect and improve workers' living standards, but also as a vehicle for change of the entire political and economic order of society. They were primarily formed from trade groups, in particular the engineering craft unions, and in 1871 trade unions became legal. The 1900s saw major disputes throughout the UK regarding pay and hours, and in 1979 trade unions pretty much reached their peak with 13 million members, and today the comparative number is 7.3 million. So trade unions then saw a decline to the point where there were 502 active trade unions in 1983, and today there are 180. Margaret Thatcher, during her time as Prime Minister, passed a lot of legislation restricting the powers of trade unions, and that has seen their decline.
And what's the current status of unions within Trinity Mirror at the moment?
Well, within Trinity Mirror there are 3 recognised trade unions. One is Unite. Unite essentially represent non-editorial roles across the various businesses. And we have the NUJ, the National Union of Journalists, who represent editorial roles, and the BAJ that represent and are recognised for the editorial department of the national newspapers.
And we've heard some of the reasons why people choose to join a union. Why do some people choose not to?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I think people these days see that there are many no-win, no-fee lawyers, and that means they don't have to pay their annual or monthly subscription to trade unions because they can get that service for free. Also, workforces are very much more fragmented than they were, and trade unions have found it very hard to organise them. And of course, legislation over the past couple of decades has all been about individual rights, not about collective rights. So individuals feel pretty much protected through the prevailing legislation compared with the 60s when that wasn't the case.